Well, what a weekend it's been in the Premier League. London is red. Well, North London. Manchester's red. East Midlands is red. Everywhere is red. It's a red hot show on Blue Monday, apparently. Well, certainly not for some teams. Some maybe for others. Tottenham. Let's get on with the show, shall we?
Fitting way to do so. Can it's him. Back to Balotelli. It runs for Aguero. They've done it!
Hazard still on the ground as Charlie Adam goes for goal here. Oh, and he scored!
And was by Stones. Andrew Townsend! A field of minutes. And Aaron Ramsey starts and ends. An immaculate. Trying to find a way through.
Well, there we go. What a selection of goals, and there's definitely plenty this weekend as well. We will talk through 6 games for you on the show. Let's get on with the panel. Small but knowledgeable panel. Abdi, how's it going?
I'm doing well, my friend. Doing well. How you doing?
Yeah, no, all good, all good. Very good. We actually managed to win a game. That's always positive. And in the producer's chair, brand new, Jonesy, how's it going?
Yeah, life is good. Sitting top of that perch, looking down on you boys. Can't complain.
To be honest, most teams are looking down on us, mate. Listen, there's 9 teams. But yeah, no, top of the league. 8 points clear, is it?
Indeed it is.
Looking pretty there. Right, so let's get on with talking most important thing, the games. So we'll kick off with Manchester United 2, Man City 1. So Abdi, I mean, I didn't watch the game. I was checking the scores and who scored and such. Man United, I mean, I did say they'll edge it. I did even get the score right. So tell us your thoughts.
Manchester is red. Simple as. No, I'll go more in depth than that. I
Thank you, Abdi.
I'm very pleased with the result. Very pleased with the performance. It's how I was cautiously optimistic about the game in terms of this was sort of. I know we've been in good form and the winning streak we've been on in terms of the teams that we've played. And some people have said, "Oh, you haven't really played anyone of any real note. You've been playing people below you or like at the bottom of the table, or going through something or otherwise. Or just I don't know." But going into this game, cautiously optimistic, and we done the job. We done the business. Got out of there with 3 points and. It wasn't even like a scrappy win or anything. It was a controlled performance. It was a match where we didn't really give them sort of a sniff at goal. They had pretty much one shot on target, and that one shot was the goal that they got. But other than that, they barely done anything. And going into that game, the one player I probably was concerned about the most wasn't actually Erling Haaland. It was more Riyad Mahrez. And in terms of if someone's going to cause a problem out wide, it'd be probably someone like Riyad Mahrez. And I felt Tyrell Malacia had done a very good job shutting him down, making it difficult for him. Aaron Wan-Bissaka on his side, Phil Foden couldn't get a sniff, just doing his thing. I want to hats off to Aaron Wan-Bissaka as well. Been out in the cold for 6 months. People said he was finished as a player, finished at United. And he gets brought back in. He comes back in at United, and he's just been like you don't hear a peep out of him. He says nothing, doesn't really go on social media that much. Just kept his head down, focused on what he had to do, did the business, came back, and he's putting in performances for United. And that's what the kind of players that you want to see in terms of just doing their thing and doing it well. Luke Shaw, Rafael Varane. Some people raise the eyebrow that Luke Shaw is playing at left centre back, but good Lord, is he versatile to pull that off and to deal with someone like Erling Haaland, who's been in the goal scoring form that he was in 21 league goals in January. It's mad, but as a left back playing there. He only played there a couple of times as well, and it's kind of mad that he's managed to rein him in. Didn't even give him a sniff in that game. Barely noticed he was even on the pitch. Honestly, I just felt Eric Ten Hag played a blind in that game. He knew exactly what to do. First half, we were the much better team. Second half, I feel like we lost a little bit of something when Martial went off. It sort of the structure of the team kind of faltered, and that's where they kind of got in their goal and their chance. Because Kevin De Bruyne was just literally marked out of the game completely by Fred, who just locked him up the whole game pretty much. But the one time he did get free, it was to find Grealish at the back post, which is the only sort of flaw that I would say on Aaron Wan-Bissaka. He's not really good at the back post bit, but aside from that, didn't really put a foot wrong in that game. And then the big bone of contention, the Bruno goal, that was lots of people saying it's offside. Honestly, if it was me in that position, I'd be feeling the same way. If it goes against you, you would be screaming, shouting everything down, just going berserk. That went against you, but it didn't go against me. It went for my team, so I'm happy. I don't really care at that point. And then Rashford gets his goal again, customary now. He's literally been just in red hot form. And as the song goes, like Manchester, Rashford is red. So couldn't be happier. Couldn't be happier.
No, and I think it's as I've said to you. Well, I've said multiple times when it comes to these controversial decisions. Sure, of course they are controversial. Many a times, but yeah, if it goes for your team, you're not exactly going to go, yeah, no, it wasn't unfair, cross it off. You know, at the end of it, if it goes for your team, regardless of it, you're gonna be happy about it, even if it realistically shouldn't have. Question about Man City, Jonesy. It's a bit more a generic question. This one, obviously, from an Arsenal fan's perspective, the more points Man City drop, the better, because they are probably your immediate threat as things stand.
Yeah.
Their results have not been great over the last few weeks. I mean, sure, they've done what they had to do in the FA Cup, but they dropped points against Everton. They dropped points against now Man United. What's going? Is something going wrong at City? Have they been worked out, or what's happening there that Man City are dropping more points than people maybe would have expected?
I just feel Man City are a better team without Haaland in it. I know how crazy that sounds with how many goals he's scored, but if you think about it, when they're playing with Haaland, they only want to give it to Haaland to score. They don't share the goals around as much as they did without him last season. I just feel sometimes that they're just looking to him. With the form he's been in, you can quite justifully say that he should be doing it anyways, where he's been doing it. But I think, though, like Abdi was saying, I think Man United played a blinder, and they've literally give a blueprint to every team in the rest of the league on how to beat City. I think they've been found out, to be fair. You lock up the likes of De Bruyne, you lock up the likes of Haaland, and you just make sure you do your job for them 90 minutes, and we can see teams are upset. Look at Southampton in the Cup. No one saw that coming. Absolutely no one. And you can imagine Pep was, and he come out and said after the game that he can't win the Premier League now and he can't win the Cup. You just think, are you resorting to that already? There's still 20 games to go. I just don't think he feels these crop of players are as strong as they were 2-3 seasons ago, maybe. Or maybe they're putting their eggs all in the Champions League basket.
That's the funny thing. I feel like the one season where they're just poor domestically, they'll just go on a blinder in Europe. And that's my concern. And I hope that they don't. I hope I'm proved wrong. And somehow, I think they have Leipzig. I hope they... I doubt they'll knock them out of the round of 16, but whoever gets them in the quarterfinal, whatever, hopefully they
never know
knock
with
them
Man
out.
City. They've been in this position.
You never know.
They're the English version of PSG, where they've got all the talent that could win them the Champions League, but they always fall at the last hurdle or the second to last hurdle. So it's one of these things when no matter how much pedigree Man City have, there's certain things they just don't seem to be able to get, and there's certain times and certain crucial moments where Okay, they didn't in the league for the last few seasons, but there's certain moments in certain places where they do crumble, and Champions League is often their undoing, really.
Mm.
So it remains to be seen. I mean, they do have Tottenham in the midweek next. The way Tottenham are
That's
at the
their bogey
moment,
team as well.
Yeah,
that's their
But
bogey team. Will Tottenham actually wake up? Will Man City wake up? Or will both teams be asleep
both
and we
losing
get a
ends,
0-0?
both losing in the derby. So they both really need the reaction. But so at the Etihad, I believe. So good luck to Tottenham. Good luck to Tottenham.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting one because one team's going to react, and I somehow can only see one team doing so. But bogey team for Man City, stranger things have happened. Any comments before we move on to the next game from fellow fans?
No, nothing as yet. If you are watching, please jump into the comments and fire any questions at us. But yeah,
Also,
no,
put
nothing
in
as yet.
messages in the WhatsApp group. If anyone's watching and you're in the WhatsApp group, drop messages there, and one of us will probably catch them. So yes, if you want to say anything about the games we're talking about. Next game. So Brighton pulled off a thriller draw at Anfield, 3-3, which was Roberto De Zerbi's first game in charge. Now they've gone even better than that and beat Liverpool 3-0, I believe.
Yep.
I mean, Brighton are probably kind of looking at Potter going, here's what you could have had. While Klopp is looking at things going, don't know how long I'll be here. Abdi, what do you think?
Yeah, so how do you take a day where you just won the Manchester derby from at its highest point and make it even better? You just watch Liverpool get mauled by Brighton in the next game. And that literally made my day even better. It's mad how good Brighton are in terms of the way they play under Roberto De Zerbi. He came in, he took over from Graham Potter. People like, Brighton are probably going to fall now because they lost Graham Potter. And no, that's completely the wrong case. The Roberto De Zerbi came to a team that was already built structurally, ready for the way he wants to play, and he just basically picked up the mantle and just carried on what Graham Potter was doing with Brighton. And you can argue he's probably doing an even better job than Graham Potter was at Brighton.
Most people actually said that he's doing even better than Potter did.
Yeah, and it just shows. Matoma, where out of the blue came up. No one was really talking about him. He was out of the World Cup of Japan, and now he's doing bits for Brighton. Leandro Trossard, the man who did score the hat-trick in the 3-3 draw at Anfield in his first game. You know what? If you don't want to be here, fine. Off you go on your bike. See to go to Belgium if you want to go to Belgium. We don't need you. We'll play with the rest of the team who wants to be here and knuckle down. And that's exactly what they've done. They did the job. They knuckled down. Solly March with a double. Great goals. Danny Welbeck, that guy. Absolute fantastic goal. He literally juggled it over Joe Gomez's head and just puts it away. Beautiful stuff. Liverpool crumbling. You love to see it. I feel like we've sort of switched places with Liverpool a little bit in terms of they're on the downfall now, and we're sort of slowly coming back up on our way. So yeah, it's always nice to see Liverpool lose, and yeah, it was a great Saturday. Great Saturday.
Jonesy, when it comes to Liverpool, I mean, I've heard this stat before about Jurgen, 7th season at a club, has been usually his last. Can we talk about Jurgen Klopp losing his job, or do you think he'll stay at the end until the end of the season?
I reckon Liverpool will keep him to the end of the season, and I think if he leaves, I think that would be his decision. I do think he's earned that because of what he's done at the club. But it would be great to see Tippek's teeth get the sack. But it's great. I agree. As an Arsenal fan as well, I love seeing the demise of Liverpool. I think yourself as well, Hubert, as a Chelsea fan.
We play them next, so it's the case of two teams on a downturn. Which
absolute
one pick
mid-off.
The mid-off. But it's great to see. But I just think Klopp, like you say, the 7th season syndrome, he's had it everywhere he's been. There's something there. Like he gets it out of the players the seasons beforehand, but they just seem to stop. It happened at Dortmund. It happened at Leipzig. It's a bit of a strange one, but I don't know where I see him going, to be fair. I reckon he's still got a few years left in him at Liverpool, but it depends on the board. We know what boards are like nowadays. They're quick to make reactions, and especially if they don't get Champions League this year. I predicted at the beginning of the season Liverpool wouldn't even get top 4, and I was laughed out of the room. Yeah, it's all coming into fruition now, but I mean, you never know. If they don't get any European football, which is a possibility with the way they're playing, you never know what could happen. Stranger things have happened in football. But as far as Brighton goes, I just want to touch on Brighton because we had a tough game against them. They're a superb team. I love everything about Brighton, except for when Mupé was there. But yeah, they're a good team at the moment. And with Trossard, if you don't want to play, get out of the club. I agree with Abdi. He's doing well, the new guy at Brighton. And if you don't want to be part of that, then you've got no place at the club.
Yeah, I think when it comes to Trossard, I said before, any player that doesn't want to be at a club needs to go because there's no point keeping players that don't want to be there. I've said this on Friday when we were previewing this game, and to me, keeping players like that only creates a toxic environment. We've seen this with so many players at so many clubs. We had that, with Mesut Ozil at Arsenal, Aubameyang at Arsenal, Aubameyang at Chelsea. Clearly doesn't want to be there. We've had that with Costa when he wanted to leave. He made it clear. It's all there's so many cases where clubs try to hold on to players even though they don't want to be there. So, yeah, I think Trossard should just go, and because Brighton are clearly good without him, they've proven so. When it comes to Liverpool, on the other hand, I mean, they are falling apart. I mean, it's still not, they can still get themselves back up. It's whether that will happen. I mean, they've got Chelsea next. All remains to be seen there. That game is tricky to predict because both teams aren't exactly in a certain form of one kind or another, so you can't really put your finger on it. And yeah, Liverpool, I think everyone would have laughed at anyone who said Liverpool wouldn't get top 4 if you said it, at the beginning of the season because of the way Liverpool ended the last season. But that just shows that it doesn't matter how you end the season because look what can happen. And I mean, you could have kind of foreseen this when Liverpool dropped, loads of points at the beginning of the season, dropped points against Fulham, dropped points against Palace, against Man United. Liverpool are having a tough one. And I think if they don't get Champions League or even European football, I think that would be a disaster for the club, even though Jurgen did change them massively. And the thing is who Liverpool get next, because they could go one of two ways. They could go for a proven manager, or they could do what clubs like Chelsea did and bring Steven Gerrard, bring a club legend as a manager, which doesn't always work.
No, I don't feel like they'll go for Steven Gerrard. They might nab Tommy Tickle. You never know.
Yeah. Maybe he's there.
I personally don't think that Jurgen Klopp will get sacked. I think he's.
I don't think he'll get sacked. But I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool's form continues. I wouldn't be surprised if he left at the end of the season.
Yeah, I feel like the fans would riot if they sacked Jurgen Klopp. So I think it'd be something of him probably leaving and saying this is how far I could take it. They really desperately, they're crying out for a midfielder. They put all their eggs into one basket with Jude Bellingham. If they don't get him, then sucks to be you, I guess. You need to sort of have a backup plan, and you need somebody now, really. You can't wait a full year without bringing any reinvestment to that midfield. You're seeing the damage it's doing to you in terms of trying to get Champions League football. I still think they have a chance. I think every game that's going by, it's become more and more less likely, but I always think they do have injuries, to be fair, in their attacking line with Jota out, Diaz out, Firmino out. If they got some of those back, and then Van Dijk is out at the back as well, but even before Van Dijk, they weren't really doing so well. But I feel like Liverpool could always string a few wins together and climb up the table, but they really need a midfielder. They really do.
But I just want to interject there. Just
Go on.
even with them players, do you not feel the intensity's gone? The way Liverpool used
It
to
has.
play and the way they
It has.
press, they just don't bother. Have you seen their defending lately, like Trent and
It's shocking.
Van Dijk? It's just like they just can't be bothered. But
Statue defending.
Yeah,
And I saw it when they came.
Off a cliff.
I saw it when they came Old Trafford. Van Dijk, one of the goals, he was just standing there with his hands behind his back. And
yeah,
I was just like, okay,
a couple of seasons
Alright.
ago, he would have threw himself in front of that.
yeah.
Yeah, you do wonder
It's
what
just
makes
it's
a
mad
player
the way
change
how
that
much they've
approach and
fallen
do
off.
what he's done.
Mm.
So yeah, an interesting one for Liverpool there. They face Chelsea next, so that will be a curious one. See what happens there. Right. So I want to move us on next to the bottom three clash. That was Everton versus Southampton. And Abdi, we've asked ourselves the question, will Southampton be knackered after dumping Man City out of the League Cup? And it wasn't a convincing win, but it was still a crucial 3 points for Nathan Jones in the Premier League.
First win, I believe, in the Premier League as well.
Yeah, it was.
JWP doing his thing. That free kick, I'm sorry. Pickford has to do a lot better. I don't know why he's just standing there. I mean, Ward-Prowse is the free kick master, but it just felt weird. Like it just sort of floated in and just went to the side, and Pickford was just like, okay, it was in. But it is what it is, I guess. Everton, their whole club's in a mess right now in terms of the things going on with their board and ownership. And I think they put out a threat to the board members and director members saying that for your own safety, stay away. I'm not sure who, I think that was the fans who said that, or if the club told the directors to stay away, but it is very toxic within Everton. And then you could see after the game as well, those clips, they chased Anthony Gordon out of Liverpool pretty much, and chased him down. Pretty much. They were hurling insults at the players. They were like literally people locked within the directors' lounge couldn't come out because there was just a mob of fans outside not letting people leave. Yerry Mina had to get out of his car to talk to the fans because they wouldn't let him pass, but they all calmed down when they saw there was like a kid in the car as well.
Sorry, I know the club's in dire position,
healthy.
but you don't do that.
No, it's a mess, and they were so desperate. They were resorting to the tactics that they were using towards the end of the season. It's January, and they were letting off fireworks and flares outside the Southampton hotel. It's Southampton, lads. It was Southampton, but yeah, I don't know what to say for Everton. It's not like they haven't been invested into. They've been invested into poorly in terms of the players that they're bringing in, but they're getting a new stadium soon. But aside from that, they are just spiraling. And who knows? They could be opening that stadium in the Championship, with the way they're going. So it's a mess. It's a mess. Merseyside's just all over the place.
Well, yeah, you've got both Merseyside clubs not doing well, and I mean, Jonesy Everton. I mean, for Liverpool, this is the first season in a while where they've been in this position. For Everton, this is 2 seasons in a row of being in this position. They got Frank Lampard, but as I've said to many people, and Frank Lampard's the manager's not the problem. People keep blaming the manager because that's just easy, but let's be brutally honest. The problems at Everton are a lot more deep rooted than just the manager.
Yeah, I mean, Everton they were lucky last season to stay up. They were lucky. I mean, we had them last game of the season and they just looked like they were on holiday. And you could, quite happily justify that because they've stayed up. But I just think it breeds a whole bad mentality through the whole squad. And they've took it into this season. It seems like they're the same team that ended the last game of last season straight away. I mean, the one bright star is probably Iwobi. He's done well for them at times. But as far as you go, the rest of the squad is just woeful. Pickford, England's number one. Hopefully not to be too much longer. But you just look through the whole of that team and there's nothing there. You mean they brought in Mupé from Brighton.
Nothing.
There's nothing. And it's just, I don't know. I'm fear for Everton because if they go down, I don't see them coming back for a while. they could be out of the league for a long while. And like you say, Abdi, they could have the best Premier League in the Championship, the best stadium, in the Championship.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
Go on.
Just to touch on Southampton, I don't know if you guys saw, but when they went 1-0 down, the Southampton fans turned on the Everton team and they were singing, "Nathan Jones, your tactics are blah blah." But as soon as they turned it around, they were all singing his name at the end. So it just shows you swings and roundabouts in football.
It is fickle. It is fickle.
It is,
They both don't want to go down. They're desperate to both stay up, but it's going to be very interesting. I feel like this relegation battle is very tight this year as well. In terms of if you look at the table, if you drop points within that sort of bottom 6, 7 ish, because there's teams like on 17, 20 points. And they're only like 5 points away from the drop zone. So a couple bad results could be very detrimental with people below you picking up points. And then you got West Ham dropping in there as well. It's mad how some of those teams like Everton, West Ham, Southampton, to me, they feel all like Premier League regulars. And if they're dropping down to the Championship, then one of them's not coming back for sure. One of them's not. You slip out of the You slip out of the Premier League, you can spiral in the Championship and stay there for what feels like an eternity. Just look at Leeds. I know they're worse in terms of they're in financial ruin pretty much, but you're never too big to go down at this point, I guess.
Well, even Villa, look how long they stayed. Look how long they stayed out of the Premier League. They got relegated in 2016 and only came back in 2019.
Yeah, it took them a bit of time. It's not easy. It's not easy. And then I feel like I know you guys not really a big fan of him, but the thing that Everton had last season and they don't have this season, they had Richarlison last season at least. They had somebody who could be a goal scorer for them and get them out of tight games sometimes, but they don't have that now. Like they have Calvert-Lewin, but he's very injury prone now. He's just too injury prone and he's almost useless at this point. But when he's fit, how long is he going to be fit for? That's the question over him at all times, pretty much. But yeah, they're in big trouble if they can't turn this around quick.
Yeah, time is ticking. Toffee clock's ticking, I think, very much so. For me, looking at it, Nathan Jones, that League Cup knocking out Man City has given Southampton a bit of a boost. Which they needed because, they've got a few winnable fixtures coming up, I believe. So, whether they'll dig themselves out of trouble just yet is too early to tell. But, that could have given them that all-important boost they needed, that this team can indeed take on Premier League opposition and can win. So, yes, it remains to be seen. When as Everton, they've been there last season, but I think this season, their trouble has started a lot earlier, so they'll have a lot more tougher time, I think, digging themselves out of this one, to be honest. Moving on to the next game. Sunday's games, and I think this will be, briefly, the game will be talked about. Chelsea beating Palace. Wasn't a convincing win, I'd say. I'll kick this one off. Beating Palace, I mean, we needed a win, and against anybody at this rate, a win would have done. Was this win convincing? Not in the slightest. Palace were decent. Both teams had chances. It was a case of, before the game was a case of both teams were crap. Which one's going to be the less crap? And Chelsea just about managed it. Abdi and Jonesy, I'll get your thoughts onto the game, but we will have to discuss Mudryk because I think all of us have a lot to say in different fashion on this. But let's get your thoughts on the game first, Abdi.
Chelsea just, I don't know, Kai Havertz gets his goal. It's been a while since he's scored, and it's about time. He should have really had a hat-trick. He had chances to score in that game, but him up top just doesn't work. He's not that main man goal-getter striker. He needs a number 9 in front of him to play off of, and he did get that in terms of the goal came when who was it that was taken off? I can't remember who was taken off, but Aubameyang was brought on I think, yeah, it was Chukwuemeka that was taken off. Aubameyang was brought on. Kai Havertz was moved back so he could play a little bit deeper. And then that's where the goal came from because they moved things around. For Chelsea, they really need a number 9 and they need a midfielder as well. If they can get those two things, I know they got Mudryk now. They got João Felix, who's 2 games away from coming back. They got Nkunku on the way, but they don't have the number 9 yet. But maybe you don't need the number 9. Maybe that'll be enough for you in terms of getting things moving forwards. But yeah, I there's not much to say honestly on the game. I thought Badiashile looked good as your new debut signing at centre back, which is very good for him as well. Looks like a promising centre back. So yeah, fair play. You got the 3 points. Now you move on to the mid-off derby.
Just to jump in, Ray has joined us now, so he's in the stream.
Hello guys, how you all doing?
All right,
Sorry
Ray.
for being so late.
Evening. We will come to you in a minute. You've luckily joined us in time, but we still haven't discussed the Arsenal game.
Okay,
So-
nice.
We will get to that soon. Talking Chelsea then and Palace, Jonesy, we'll get your thoughts, then we'll come to Ray. On the game first, transfer, we'll come to that after, but yeah.
To be fair, if I'm being totally honest, I didn't watch the game because I didn't want to see Mudryk paraded around. So I deliberately didn't watch it, but I kept my ear to the ground on Twitter and on BBC Sport just to check what was going on. And it just felt like it was 2 teams who were struggling a bit for form, and Chelsea proved they had that little bit extra with Kai Havertz to get over the line. Correct me if I'm wrong, because like I said, I didn't watch the game, but it just felt like Chelsea needed that win. With the results they've had the last couple of weeks, they just needed a W under their belt to try and kick on now for the rest of the season.
They definitely did. I think it was a good win there. It was much needed. Ray, before we move on to talking Chelsea's, coming from a Chelsea fan, stupid transfer policy, but we'll get to that. Any thoughts on the Chelsea Palace game that happened on Sunday?
Yeah, a bit like Jonesy, I didn't see it live. I only sort of saw it on Match of the Day. I was trying to calm myself down for the North London derby by cooking pasta and just trying to chill out that way. So unfortunately, I sort of saw it late. But yeah, like you touched on there, I think both teams are struggling for form at the moment, aren't they? And, I think whether it was a 1-0 win, just any win necessary was just what either side needed, really. So, yeah, Chelsea have got a lot of quality through their sides, a lot of expensive quality in their side. Yeah, it looked like that kind of was the difference, really. So if you're a Chelsea supporter, I'm sure you'll be hoping that kicks off your season.
Well, certainly hoping something kicks off in a positive fashion this season, let me tell you. So let's move on to talking Mudryk then. So I'll take this one first because I think I'm one of these Chelsea fans that seems somewhat unusual, as in I don't kind of believe in the ethos of us spending money for the sake of spending money. And to me, the Mudryk signing is basically exactly that. And Jonesy and Abdi, me and you've had discussions in the WhatsApp group where I kind of said, I feel sorry for the genuine Chelsea fans who actually don't really care for Mudryk. They actually want the club to sign the players they need, when instead you are signing winger number 2,500. And realistically, that winger also costs a ton of money, where is he actually worth that much? A lot of people would argue not. So to me, I'd say this to Chelsea fans who I had a few Chelsea fans. I spoke to Arsenal fans who have been messaged by Chelsea fans, and they said, "Oh, if Mudryk chose us, it means Arsenal are clearly rubbish." And that's kind of said, well, your response to them should be very simple. Mudryk chose Chelsea not because Arsenal were rubbish, because he cares more about money than success. Because if you go for success, you go to a higher club rather than the club that will give you the most money. And at the end of the day, this is what's happened here. Plus, for a change, it would be good to actually come up with a signing of our own rather than kind of going, let's see what everyone else is shopping for and try to buy it. I have to say, if Mudryk plays well and changes everything for us, if Felix plays well and changes things for us, I will eat my words. But at this precise moment, we need a number 9, and we need permanent solutions. We don't need short-term solutions. Yes, Mudryk is, I believe, a permanent signing.
Yes.
Felix
a very
is
long
not.
deal.
Yeah, well, 8.5 billion years, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. To me, short-term solutions like Felix is not a good idea because Potter is a long-term solution person. Todd Bowley's patient, and he clearly, excuse me,
Bless you.
beauty of live videos. Potter's a long-term solution man, so buying short-term loan solution, getting short-term loans sorted is not the answer for me. And spending hundreds of millions on players who aren't even in the right positions that we need, to me, is ridiculous. I don't blame football fans for taking the piss out of Chelsea for what the club's doing. I don't blame them at all. I just feel sorry when the genuine fans get it in the neck because it's frustrating from the owners. You kind of hope that things will change at Chelsea with the new ownership, but it seems it's getting worse or just sticking to the same. So, Abdi, let's get your thoughts on Mudryk, shall we? This whole situation, really.
Yeah, it's a messy one because I remember I was following it very closely in terms of what was going on that evening. That it all flipped on its head pretty much.
I know there was from Wolverhampton then.
Yeah, I know there was talk of Chelsea looking at him a couple of weeks back, but it was more that Arsenal were the ones who were still in firm control. And it's just a weird one. I feel like I blame Shakhtar more than I'd blame Mudryk in this whole situation. I feel like Shakhtar were holding out for way too much money that was unrealistic, and I feel like Arsenal were giving you more than a fair price. Absolutely way more than a fair price. Probably, I would say Arsenal dodged the bullet in this case because that kind of package for someone who was going to be a sort of rotation option is crazy. But for Chelsea, clearly they were like, oh yeah, we'll get him and we'll do whatever. We'll just throw the money at it. So yeah, Arsenal dodged the bullet. I think it's more on Shakhtar. There was the offer on the table for Arsenal, which wasn't that far off of what Chelsea were paying anyway. But clearly they wanted to take the one that had more money. So did Mudryk really have a choice in it? I don't know, because if the offer's there and they've already accepted that offer and they're not accepting the other offer, are you just going to stay there or are you just going to go? At the end of the day, sometimes you just got to go, I guess, which is unfortunate, which is very unfortunate. I saw some of the pictures. He looked like he was being held hostage and he didn't want to be there. Genuinely, you just look at the picture, like he just looked dead inside.
When he was at Stamford Bridge?
Yeah.
Which makes you wonder also then how well is he going to play? Because if he doesn't actually want to be there, he went because, like you said, if he's not going to want to be there, it's 100 million spent on a player who don't give a crap.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have been mentioning FFP and how Chelsea are doing this. Chelsea are debt-free. They're literally debt-free. They've got new owners who are each worth billions upon billions each, and they're each spending their own bits of money within the club, and they know how to balance the book correctly. And FFP is changing in terms of the way it's operating. So within the next few years, it's going to be you can only spend 70% of the money you generate on wages, transfer fees, and agent fees, and all that stuff. And so this year it's 100% of your revenue. Next year is 90, the following year is 80, and the following year is 70. They can't bring in a 70% cap straight away because it'll cripple everyone and restrict them from doing anything. So you've got to kind of ease it in. And what Chelsea are doing is they're using this to give players that they're signing very long-term contracts. You look at some of them 7-year contracts, 8.5-year contracts.
And Pat
That's how
Nevin was
they're
mentioning
sort
that
of
during the Palace game, actually.
they're balancing it out like that. That's why they're getting away with it. We'll see if they can get away with it in that sense, but I feel like they will.
Okay, well, Ray, let's get your views on this. Like, this transfer policy. I mean, Chelsea aren't the only club that does this. There are other clubs that do this, and surely something will have to be done because this money's not going to get smaller. These prices, the finances, the ridiculous fees are only going to get worse. And I mean, football's been a money cash cow for a very long time. That's no secret. But can this even be stopped from getting worse than it already is?
Yeah, I don't think it will. I think it will just the transfer fees will just go up and up and up. You two are really nice, so I kind of feel a bit guilty for laying into your clubs a little bit. But you know, when you guys are sort of spending the money you are on certain players, it really does overinflate the market, and it kind of makes it almost impossible to try and buy players at a reasonable price. Abdi summed it up very well, where he mentioned about trying to go in for Mudryk at a fairly good deal. I say good deal for Shakhtar. But obviously they were just holding out for that bidding war so that, you know, a team like Chelsea would just come in and pay what they wanted. So it's frustrating as a Gooner to see your number one target go to a rival. I do think we maybe took too long in negotiations. It could be that Shakhtar were just trying to hold out as long as they could. It might just be that we were just, you know, trying to, you know, work on bits with finances here and there, and we'll pay this much and whatever. And maybe we just sort of messed about too long, really. But yeah, I think Mudryk will be a good player. From what we've seen, he seems quality, and I know you guys mentioned about these players you're bringing in on quite long contracts. Well, they're all very young, they're all very promising, aren't they? So they have got that sort of going for them. But yeah, like I say, Mudryk is a strange case. I think it'll be a case study for a lot of transfer business moving forward, for mine and Jonesy's club and for everyone else, really.
It looks like Jonesy. Let's get your take on this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm frustrated mainly with Mudryk, to be fair. Let's face it, he pulled his trousers down and bent over for us. He was that bad to join us. He was just, I've never seen a player want to join a club as much as I've seen this guy, of what he posted on social media. And then for Ted Bowley, who probably shops at Wakey Wines, but he just comes in with ridiculous amounts of money and just takes it, you know. And then it's just frustrating because obviously, say, if a player wants to join you so bad, he's obviously told Shakhtar he wants to play it. But I just think this is where a case where the agents and the club have won over the player. I mean, when you look at the news that's broke this evening, how Shakhtar have immediately pledged 20 million of his transfer fee to the Ukrainian military, you just start to ask yourself questions. Is there, you know, we all know there's corruption around and stuff like that, but
Corruption in football?
Never.
Come on.
Only with the FA referees, but yeah, but you just see it. You just see it, and it just makes you fall out of love with the game, you know. And it's just horrible to see it, and you know, and it's horrible because, like you say, Hubert, I did go off on one in the WhatsApp group, and
Rightly so, though. As an Arsenal fan, I couldn't.
It's not fair. It's not fair. Unlike yourself, you know, you're a Chelsea fan. You were a Chelsea fan before you had success. You know, what I mean, it's horrible to see, like, and I have to do that, but it just makes you feel that towards a club.
Well, understandably, I think.
But it's just Mudryk as well. He looked so unhappy, and you just feel. I tend to agree with you. How well is he going to play for a club that he doesn't want to be at, and he's committed 8 years of his playing career now to there? He's not really proven. I mean, Shakhtar sent him out on loan 3 times. It's only really last couple of seasons he's broken into the Shakhtar team and done quite well. And fair play to him, he's done well. I'm not gonna sit here and say because we lost him he's not good. Don't get me wrong, he's got the talent to be great, but does he really want to be at Chelsea? That's my question.
And he's a player that he's looking good. I'd say probably 40 million max is what you pay for someone that kind of player. It's just too much, and Shakhtar knew what they were doing in terms of what they wanted to do. And I will say it actually wasn't Todd Bowley this time that was doing the transfer. It was his partner. I can't pronounce his name, but there is other people within Chelsea as well, but yeah, they're co-CEOs or whatever. So he was the one who flew to Poland and done all the business.
What's quite sad in this one is as Jonesy pointed out, the player wanted to join Arsenal, and what frustrates me but doesn't surprise me really, but it's frustrating nevertheless, is how much the player's wishes get ignored when realistically what really should matter to a transfer is where the player actually wants to go. He wanted to go to Arsenal, and he should have been let to go where he wanted, because either way, Shakhtar would have gotten a good amount of money for him. So he should have been allowed to go where he wants. That's one thing. Second point then is obviously going back to my previous point of how well he will actually play. He committed 8.5 years of his career. Now, sure, someone could attempt to buy him from Chelsea, but this is probably what's going to now happen, where the price tag slapped on him is going to be stupendous, to quote Vince McMahon, and just
Nice.
it's gonna be a tough process for him, and I do feel sorry for players who, like, I want new players to come to my club, but I want them to come to the club because they want to, not because they're forced to. So to see a player come and kind of look as it give the I don't really want to be here face, I would kind of be like, well, no, you shouldn't be here if you don't want to be, and that's what kind of frustrates me the most. We'll have to wait and see what happens, but I do sincerely.
I think when that paycheck drops in his bank account, he'll be like, oh well.
I think it eases the pain, doesn't it, Abdi?
Yeah,
probably.
He
Probably
can sleep
will.
at
He
night.
sees that money and goes,
Yeah. Do you boys think he's going to play every week though? Because this is
Yeah,
the thing
yeah.
at Chelsea. You've got so many players in there that
We've got so many players in that position. You do wonder. I mean, for that price tag, it would be sacrilege not to play him, but it wouldn't be surprising of Chelsea to not play him on a regular basis.
I feel like with Chelsea, what they're trying to do right now, I know they're buying a lot, but I feel like in the summer they're going to be shipping off quite a few of the players that they don't want anymore. So they're trying to bring in as many people as they can to fill up those positions when they're trying to inevitably get rid of them. So I don't think, Ziyech is probably going to be gone. Pulisic is probably going to be gone. Havertz could be at risk. Mason Mount maybe even at risk himself. There was talk of them already dropping off Koulibaly, even though they brought him in the summer. So it doesn't help as well. What I will say with Chelsea, it doesn't help when your injury list record right now is ginormous. Like that isn't helping you as well. Yeah, it isn't helping. So I do think they are moving crazy in the market, but at the same time, don't hate the player, hate the game. Really, this is how things are moving, unfortunately, and it's frustrating. It's frustrating to see. And I know we were looking at Enzo Fernandez, and Benfica have like 120 million release clause on him. Chelsea are crazy enough to go and splash that cash.
Yeah,
they were close to doing it, but apparently they're trying to negotiate and give it a lower price and try and figure out how to do it. And I feel like if they did give the 120 million up front, they would have been breaching FFP at that point, because that's a lot of money at that to give all in one go as well. So, I feel like maybe they might try and go for him in the summer or something when other people try and go for him. Hopefully not, because I would not want to see him there. But, it is what it is, I guess.
Well, we're not going to cope with our own signings, put it this way.
Probably not.
Right, let's move on to the next game on the list.
Fulham.
Newcastle versus Fulham. Featured a comedy there from Mitrovic. I've not even seen it, but I've heard of it. Abdi, describe to people who may have missed it the circus moment.
So, Mitrovic gets a penalty that was questionable. And then he goes to take the penalty, hits his leg, but it still goes in. So he touches it twice, basically. It's double touch. And you can only hit it once. You can only touch the ball once in the penalty shoot when taking a penalty. So the goal gets disallowed, and it's a free kick for Newcastle. They don't get to retake it because it's a foul penalty. So and then Newcastle, Alexander Isak back from injury, does what he has to do. What they brought him in for looks promising. Gets the goal, gets them crucial 3 points, because these are the type of games Newcastle want to win if they want to be in the top 4 race and cement their place. And they're doing very well to keep at it. At the moment, the best defense in the league, 11 clean sheets, fewest goals conceded, 5 consecutive clean sheets in a row. They are just doing bits right now, and way, way, way ahead of schedule. I feel like Europe is pretty much a lock for them in terms of I don't see them dropping off to the point where
I'm
they're
very
outside
surprised.
of below 7th. Yeah. So I think they'll be in Europe regardless of whatever happens next year. Champions League right now, looking very likely in terms of the way they're going, with the results of Spurs losing as well. So it's like 5 points clear. So yeah,
Tottenham lost. Interesting.
Tottenham lost. We'll see in a second.
Ray, we're going to come to you. So Newcastle, we've talked about obviously multiple times this season, and the main point I've always mentioned about Newcastle is, we all kicked off when they kind of were owned by picked up by the Saudis because their blood money, yada yada yada, and all that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, and I've pointed this out, like people were doubting Eddie Howe when he came to Newcastle because he turned them into BTEC Bournemouth. But has to be said, the fact that Newcastle are doing well and not much of the quote-unquote Saudi money has actually been spent on improving this club. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, looking at their team, it doesn't look like money. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of average I'd say average Premier League players and good Championship players. But then they sprinkled it with your Kieran Trippiers and your Bruno Guimaraes and Isak's in the end, Nick Pope, Callum Wilson is a very good player.
Yeah.
So I think it just shows what a job Eddie Howe's done, really, in my opinion. For Newcastle to be where they are with the squad that they've got, I think full credit to them. I wasn't saying that after they played us at the Emirates, but full
I'm
credit.
sure you were saying other things.
I was saying some other things, 100%. As in terms of their winning goal, I just about saw it. As I said, I was cooking a tuna pasta bake to calm myself down before the North London derby, and I just popped it in the oven, came back, and as soon as I did, Newcastle scored that winner so late on, so I did get to see that. But yeah, they look a very good side, didn't they? And I think we mentioned that the gap is widening between 4th and 5th. It's going to be very interesting to see if the likes of a Chelsea or a Liverpool or whoever else will have ambitions for Champions League football, whether they can try and close it. But yeah, I mean, in terms of what Newcastle have done, fair play to them.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens with us. I mean, we've won the Europa League, we've won the Champions League, we've not won the Conference League yet. So come on, that's still fun.
First English team to win all 3.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. Jonesy, your thoughts on Newcastle with Fulham, please. What do you think of the game? And Newcastle, because we've not really had you on the show since the beginning of the season, I think. So, what's your thoughts?
Firstly, it was nice to see Newcastle actually play some football and not just defend for 90 minutes or 42 minutes, as they only kept the ball in that play that long. But yeah, Eddie Howe's doing a great job. They could have thrown all the money at the world at Newcastle in these transfer windows, but he hasn't. He's brought smart. He's brought squad players. Isak was a great signing for them, and he could prove vital for them in the last few months of the season. But you got to commend him. I don't think any of us could sit here thinking Newcastle would be in the position they would be without spending huge amounts of money, which they've got. So to do what they've done so far, with what they've brought in, they've done well. With any team with Chris Wood up front, he's got to be doing something special, Eddie Howe. And he deserves his chance, even if they do get Champions League this year, which is still a big ask, because still 20 games to go. Chelsea can turn it around. Liverpool could turn it on. You never know. But he's got to be commended, and he's got to be given at least a few more seasons at Newcastle. I think he's owed that. But yeah, they're doing well. It looks like, they're going to be a bit of a team to come in the next few years. They could dominate the Premier League if they carry on. It's going to be interesting with Newcastle. Very interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say, I do think with Newcastle, they are doing everything correctly, and they're doing it in a smart way where you're not buying everyone knows Newcastle are loaded now and they have loads of money, but they're not bringing in players who are just come for the money. They're not buying mercenaries. They're buying people who will buy into the project that they're building. And Eddie Howe's done a fantastic job. And I feel like we can sort of see the signs from what was to come. I don't think we expected the downfall of Liverpool and Chelsea to be this hard as it was. But in terms of Newcastle, you could see from January till the end of the season, I think they'll up there in the table. They might have been third, maybe, in terms of their form wise. I'm not sure if it was that high, but they were up there in terms of, so it was sort of a precursor to what was to come. But I don't think people expected them to sort of break into the top four this early, because it is a big opportunity for them because of the downfall of Liverpool and Chelsea, as I just mentioned. But yeah, if they can just keep it going, then they're on the right track. They haven't got European football to contend with at the moment. They're out of the FA Cup, so they don't really have to worry about that. They can just focus on the Carabao Cup and wrapping up top four pretty much. So they've got a clear road ahead. Their squad is a bit thin in terms of they are a bit light in midfield at the moment. We'll see if they bring anyone in towards the back end of January, but they haven't really done that much business this month. I think they're just waiting for the summer to go a bit crazy with it.
Especially if they get into Europe, they're going to have to invest a bit more.
Yeah.
Put a bit more capital into it. Right, before I go into one more game, any comments before we carry on?
No, nothing at the moment.
Okay. We will then move on to a certain game on Sunday afternoon, 4:30 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Let's start with Ray. I mean, to me, I don't know who your man of the match would be. I'd say Hugo Lloris for me. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought Hugo Lloris had an excellent performance, in all fairness. Yeah, I think Aaron Ramsdale got it, didn't he? And yeah, I think he was phenomenal, in fairness. I also loved the performances of the likes of Zinchenko, Martin Odegaard. Saka was brilliant again. I thought all our team was good. Thomas Partey. I thought Thomas Partey was a little bit sloppy in the first half at times, just with his passing. But then he did have some moments of quality. I mean, if that volley goes in, then that is one of the best North London derby goals in history, in my opinion. But yeah, I thought we approached the game fantastically well. Tottenham seemed to have to concede 2 goals before they start playing. But they played a side in us where, we are fantastic defensively this season. And yeah, if you give us 2 goals, as it proved, it's very difficult to come back and beat us. As I mentioned, I thought the fact that the likes of Gabriel and Saliba kept Harry Kane fairly quiet. I know he had a couple of opportunities, but to limit Kane to only 2 opportunities in a North London derby at their place is really, really phenomenal work, in my opinion. And yeah, like I say, I just don't think they could live with us in that first half in particular.
Definitely a struggle there. Abdi, let's get what happened at the end of the game, thoughts on that as well, because that's technically not a surprise at North London derby, really, let's face it. But yeah, let's get your thoughts also on that and the game.
Well, I'll start off with the game. I said it on Friday. I thought that going into this game, Arsenal were going to come out on top in terms of the way Spurs have been performing. I did say in the back of my head, maybe Spurs could do it in terms of maybe I'm writing them off too quickly. It is still a derby at the end of the day, but at the same time, I said I just don't see Arsenal losing at this point. With the way they're moving, they just seem different. They have a different animal within them, different mentality, and I don't think anywhere near what happened to them last May was going to happen today or yesterday. Sorry. So was I surprised? No, I wasn't surprised. It's typical Tottenham. I can't believe that they went into the North London derby that naive, that spineless, that gutless, that just they're cowards in that game pretty much. And I'm not a Spurs fan, but I was disappointed because I was like, you didn't show up for the derby. Why are you not giving this more of a game? But they just rolled over and let Arsenal do what they done. They gifted them both of those goals. Both of those goals were completely preventable, but they were just gifts. You know, Hugo Lloris, you absolutely stink, my friend, and they need a new keeper. Dropped an absolute clanger. Absolute
Funny
clanger.
enough, that's what Spurs fans said to me as soon as that happened.
Yeah. I just have to, full credit to Arsenal. Just full credit. They turned on the style. First half, it was all Arsenal. Second half, it was still all Arsenal in terms of just showing that their defensive quality as well. You, as Ray said, you don't give a team like Arsenal 2 goals this season and just expect to try and come back into the game. It's curtains at that point. I literally said, first goal went in, I was like, all right, it's going to be very difficult now for Spurs to come back. If they can get 2 goals, it'll be very big for them. But the second goal went in, I was like, it's done. It's done at that point. I saw nothing from Spurs. The second half, they had chances, yes, but they just weren't doing anything with them. They really weren't doing anything with them. And that scumbag at the end who attacked Ramsdale, just what was it worth it? A pathetic kick, and then afterwards you probably get charged and arrested, and then afterwards you get a lifetime ban as well. So what was it worth it? What was the point? What was the point? You lost as well. You haven't. Yeah. Literally. So yeah, Arsenal 8 points clear, doing the business, doing what they had to do. You just have to respect it at this point.
You can't not respect Arsenal, Jonesy, for what they're doing. I mean, Arsenal have done what a lot of people said clubs should do with managers. Give a manager time and watch the results come. And, well, that's pretty much what's happening currently.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're reaping the rewards of sticking with Arteta. And, I mean, me and Ray have been through many a North London derby, and I think every other supporter of other clubs were confident Arsenal were going to win, except probably for Arsenal fans, just because we know what happens at Spurs' ground. You know, Kane didn't get his usual penalty and stuff like that, which was nice to see.
I thought they would, Jonesy. You know, I know on the stroke of half time.
Yeah, same.
I was like, oh, here it is. But it was never a pen, in my opinion.
No way.
Sorry,
it's just, I think Gary Neville quoted it perfectly. Spurs were little boys, and they were playing against men. It was the perfect sum up. I've never seen a Spurs team in a North London derby so toothless. The amount of time players like Xhaka, Odegaard, and Partey had on time they had to pick out a pass was crazy. There was no closing down from Spurs. The first goal was comical, but you know, Lloris is always got a mistake in him. The only criticism I can say of Arsenal, and that's just because I always got to find something. We should kill off teams a bit more. You know, be that ruthless. In the first half, they were there. They were there to be taken.
You could have had them 4-0, 5-0 down.
I wouldn't, you know, I wanted, and Abdi knows what it's like to go beat your rivals 8-2 and stuff like that. I wanted something like that.
Yeah, I also know how it feels that on the other end as well.
Exactly.
In recent years.
I wanted something like that, and that would make it sweeter. But you can't knock any of the players. And the second half, it was just a perfect game management defensive display. You know, we decided to play counter attack. We had chances still in the second half. Eddie had that chance where Xhaka put him through. Should have buried it, but like I say, Aaron Ramsdale, should be England's number one. Just pulls off his worth again with a couple of great saves. And Richarlison, the pigeon, I can't stand that boy. And as far as Jay from in-betweeners goes, who kicked Ramsdale, he's going to be banned from the Spurs stadium. He should be banned from every stadium in the Premier League.
Anyone who acts like that shouldn't be allowed into football grounds.
He shouldn't be allowed into any game, even grassroots level. If he's got a kid, he should be banned from that. It's just no place in football at all. And I know that might sound harsh, but
no, it ruins the game though.
It does. It just
people
puts
like
a bad
that put a downer on it.
It does indeed, and it's just like Arsenal's reaction. You think to yourself, "Oh, Xhaka probably would have gone in and fought every single one of their fans."
Oh my god!
I loved
Arteta when he saw Xhaka. He moved the moment.
That's literally. I just want to say that.
But that's
Yeah.
another thing about Arteta. What a great manager can went, no, you're not doing that. I'm going to throw you away from this.
Nah, literally, I saw the video. It was just him. He was walking around there saying, "It's okay, Ramsdale." You just see Xhaka's
And you
head
see Granit
just go
going,
past,
yeah.
and then he turns away and he runs. He's like, "Xhaka, no, let's go. Get out of there."
Just the crowning moment for me was Martinelli throwing the Arsenal scarf on Spider Cam. Just that lasting memory of the empty pitch and Spider Cam with a red and white scarf wrapped around it in the middle of Spurs' stadium was brilliant.
Oh, that is quite funny, actually. Well, there we go. That was one weekend of Premier League action summed up in over an hour. Very eventful. More games to come. There's 2 midweek
Palace
games.
on Wednesday.
Yeah, you've got you're off
Come
to the
on,
Palace,
Palace.
and
Yep.
Whoa.
Spurs are off
Come on, man. Come on.
Zaha.
You guys are getting a bit too big for your boots, so you just need to calm down a little bit, you know.
We'll see on Sunday, but we got a job to take care of in South first before we head up north.
The Devils take on the Eagles, hey? Well, shall see what happens. We will be back at some point on the channel. It will either be later this week or it most likely might be on Monday, depending. We will keep you posted on the socials at Golden Goal TV on Twitter. We've got the Facebook group as well and the WhatsApp group and the Discord server, which I recently rediscovered we have and never used. So yes, let's do the usuals. Abdi, where can people find you on Twitter?
You can find me on the Twitter machine at aabdullahi26, at AABDULLAHI26.
Jonesy, how about you?
Yeah, just James86 on Twitter. Normally on the Arsenal Fans Forever page. There's a show tomorrow if any guys are interested, talking a bit more in depth into the Arsenal game. But yeah, I'm always around on Twitter. Funny meme coming out of me somewhere.
Yeah,
Go check out that legend, please. Check him out.
Check him out. Give Arsenal Fans Forever a listen. Give them a follow. Join in with the content and enjoy the journey that Arsenal are on, because it's definitely one of a
very special season.
Memorable, special.
Very special.
Follow them, and get with it. Get with the spirit of it. And Ray, as a debutant, where can people find you?
Yeah, thank you again for having me.
Love to have you
apologies
back.
about being late, but yeah, I really appreciate you inviting me on, guys. If anyone wants to follow me, my Twitter handle is Ray_Cassin, just in the corner there. Yeah, I love chatting football, so yeah, give me a follow.
Fantastic. And you can find me on Twitter, occasionally ranting about football or the general world. At Subsonics UK, that's at SUBSONIX UK. Give us all a follow, give Golden TV a follow, subscribe to the channel, like, comment, and share. Tell your friends, click the bell to receive the notifications, because we will be back with content and there'll be plenty of it. And looking at how unpredictable this Premier League season is, there'll be plenty to talk about still, I am sure. So yes, thank you everyone for watching, and thank you everyone on the show. We'll be back very soon.
Good night.
Good night, guys.